Good morning. We need Laura Mellum in the room. I see her just outside the chamber here. Garfield, could you help me get Laura in the room?
Good morning, everyone. My name is Elliot Payne. I'm the president of Minneapolis City Council. Before we convene our meeting, we have the presentation of honorary resolutions. I'll invite Councilmember Palmisano to give the first presentation related to our departing Deputy City Operations Officer, Laura Mellum. Welcome.
Good morning, everybody. We're here with the first resolution. You have an entourage. I know you do. Come on in. We're here this morning to honor Laura Mellum, who is one of our first DCOOs, and that's a tough job to step into, and it was defined the way that it was defined by the administration, but I don't think you really necessarily know how it functions and what you do, and as the first person in it, you sort of define and charge into that territory and figure it out, and we think you did an especially thoughtful job in figuring it out. And so this resolution is for you. Oh my, you have quite the entourage. Here, I'm going to move down a little. This is to honor you, Laura, for your leadership and service to the city of Minneapolis. I'll read it and then maybe a few people want to say a few words. That would be great. Whereas Laura Mellum served the city of Minneapolis with distinction as Deputy City Operations Officer, providing strategic leadership over communications, 311 services, intergovernmental relations, neighborhood and community relations, and other key functions that have strengthened the city's ability to deliver responsive public service. And throughout her tenure, Laura advanced the modernization and centralization of city communications, helping transform historically disconnected communication functions into a more strategic, coordinated, and resident-centric model designed to better inform, engage, and build trust with the public. And whereas Laura helped strengthen the city's operational capacity by advancing strategic improvements to 311, supporting enhancements and upgrades at the convention center, and guiding complex cross-departmental initiatives that improve coordination, efficiency, and tangible impact for those that we serve. And whereas Laura drove the city to significantly advance our coordinated public information and emergency communications capabilities, as demonstrated in the city's effective response during multiple moments of extraordinary consequence in Minneapolis history, including the tragic Annunciation Parish shooting and Operation Metro Surge. And whereas Laura's leadership was marked by strategic vision, professionalism, thoughtful collaboration, and an unwavering commitment to public service, leaving a lasting institutional legacy that will continue and strengthen the city of Minneapolis well into the future. And whereas Laura Mellum now departs the city to pursue a new executive leadership opportunity, carrying with her the sincere gratitude, admiration, and best wishes of colleagues, partners, and the broader Minneapolis community. Now therefore be it resolved that the mayor and city council hereby honor you for your dedicated service, steadfast leadership, and meaningful contributions to our city enterprise. And we extend our sincere thanks and best wishes for your continued success in your next chapter. That's a lot of words, Laura. But I think that what I find and what others do is, you are our thoughtful approach. And a lot of the things that you've done are pretty invisible because it was really more these directors of departments, but that does not take anything away from your ability to connect the dots behind the scenes and always be helping us and pushing us forward. And we have been stronger at communications because of you in every way, and that is about how we communicate with the public in good times and in bad. So thank you so very much. Did you want to say a couple words and then I'll hand it off to a couple others?
Well, thank you so much, Councilmember, and thank you to the entire City Council. It has been one of the greatest honors of my career to serve in this leadership role here at the city in what has been really a pivotal moment for Minneapolis. In my time here, we have undertaken a tremendous amount of change in just a few short years. From the outset, we established a shared vision for the communications and engagement team, many of whom are here today. And that vision included to operate as a coordinated and a unified team to ensure that residents receive critical information that matters the most to them, and to meet people where they are, no matter the platform and no matter the language. And it took a lot to make that vision into a reality. We restructured departments, we realigned teams, created new processes, we recruited new team members and some new leaders too. We asked residents how they wanted to connect to their city, and we took that feedback very seriously. We studied the lessons learned from past shortcomings here and in other places, and we trained together over and over and over again. And because of that preparation, when our city faced the unimaginable, the day of the Annunciation shooting and later the horrific actions that the federal government would take against our own people, this team was ready. They knew what to do. They had built the muscle memory, they understood their roles, and they spoke with one voice. And that it was really important to make sure that residents and people around the world knew exactly what was happening here in Minneapolis. That's a testament to all of you, to our department heads, to our incredibly dedicated city staff, to the city council, and to the mayor for believing in this vision and supporting it. And for that, I'm so forever grateful. And in closing, I want to recognize that city staff and our elected leaders have endured more in recent years than many will ever face in their entire careers. And that takes a toll. But Minneapolis is fortunate to have all of you and your experience that you're bringing every day. I'm profoundly grateful to have worked alongside you. I've learned so much from all of you, and I would ask that you take care of each other. As I step away, I do so with tremendous pride about what we've accomplished together and with hope in my heart for what comes next for this city because of this excellent team. So thank you, and thank you for this.
We're going to keep it to one speaker, if that's okay, everybody, since they have 10 resolutions this morning, and there's going to be opportunities to talk about Laura more in the coming days. I don't want to look at her because I know I might get weepy at looking at her. Laura is one of those people who bats above the average, for sure. When she came in here, we actually were vying with another department for her when OPS was able to snatch her up, and I'm glad we did. Her ability to have vision, her ability to communicate, her ability to both think about residents and employees is extraordinary. And as the COO of the city, one of the things that we talk about all the time is no surprises. And Laura has really helped us, I think, along that path to have no surprises as we move along from day to day. I do want to thank the council as well. These positions were new positions, and figuring it out together of how the structure will work, it was really important. And I think we've gotten to a very good place. And we're not gonna try to make someone fit into your shoes. We're gonna have to find somebody else with some different shoes because I think it would be impossible. I deeply, and your team and your teammates really appreciate the leadership that you have provided all the way through, the steadiness, the gentleness and the kindness that you bring to this role. We are excited that you are staying as a resident of Minneapolis and, might be able to serve in different ways now that you're not a city employee. So we really appreciate you, Laura. Thank you. Every best wish for success as you move forward.
Here, now we're gonna take a quick picture, but I'm gonna need all of you to kind of come around and make a double or triple line just real quickly here. And Laura, we're giving you this resolution to hold. Put you in the middle. Yeah. All right, come on.
Step forward a bit. Do you need us to
Next up, Councilmember Warren.
Next, we will welcome up Councilmember Warren to recognize Kirk Washington Jr.
Good morning. Today, I will have the honor and privilege of presenting a resolution to honor the life and legacy of Kirk Washington Jr., affectionately known in our poet community as Bro Sun, the brother of sun and light. So this is beautiful to be standing here with his wife and to present this in his honor. Whereas Kirk Washington Jr. was a poet of uncommon vision, a painter of truth across walls and pages, an actor of grace, a teacher of fierce love, and an author of insight, and an activist whose every step was a work of art. And whereas he walked this world hand in hand with his beloved wife, Aster Nebro, and was a devoted father to two radiant daughters, Azila and Kia, who carry forward his fire and his tenderness. And whereas
Kirk Washington Jr. was a weaver of people, a thread that bound strangers into community, believing that building bonds was itself a sacred creative act. And whereas he was a bridge between people, between cultures, between generations, guiding others across divides with courage and compassion, always pointing towards justice and possibility. And whereas his gatherings were more than events, they were living, breathing installations of thought, heart, and transformation, where dialogue flowered like music and everyone had a place in the circle. And
whereas Kirk left his fingerprints on every soul of Minneapolis as a graffiti artist, painting the unseen, a spoken word prophet, lifting stories from silence, and a storyteller who could turn memory into movement. And whereas he taught not from behind a podium alone, but from the sidewalks and coffee shops, from corners and classrooms, reminding us all that learning is a lifelong unfolding and wisdom lives in community. And whereas Kirk knew his voice and sang with it, he knew his power and shared it. He knew his worth and helped others find theirs. Kirk was a mirror, a beacon, a source of unshakable inspiration, and
whereas though the world may no longer see him in form, Kirk Washington Jr. remains ever present in the rhythm of North Minneapolis, in its murals, in its movements, in the hearts of all who knew him, and his legacy continues to grow like roots beneath our feet. Now there it be resolved that the mayor and the city of Minneapolis do hereby recognize May 9th, 2026 as Kirk Washington Jr. Day in celebration of his enduring contributions to the city he loved, especially his transformative service to the arts and the Northside community he called home.
just thank you. I'm just inviting all of you to come on North Side, May 9. We're gonna celebrate his 10 years May Kirkus Day anniversary. I'm cooking Ethiopian food and come on and join me. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
So in December, there was a street naming in his honor, and we didn't have the opportunity to properly celebrate it the way that, we wanted to with the family. So we are going to take tomorrow from 11 to 3. Saturday from 11 to 3, May 9th, to celebrate and honor our beloved brother, bro's son, and celebrate with his family and his wife and his daughters, to really uplift his legacy, and all the community is welcome to be there. Oh, 350 Logan Avenue North, yeah. No? Okay, well, we'll gather for a photo.
Everyone from council can join us for the mental health one.
Next, we will welcome up Councilmember
Especially if you're
Chavez
wearing
for Mental Health
green.
Awareness Month.
So what we'll do first is read this resolution quickly, and then we'll pass it on to our incredible health department staff to say some words about the importance of this day. We're all wearing green, and our staff will explain why green is really important today. So today we're honoring 2026 Mental Health Awareness Month. Whereas Mental Health Awareness Month is observed every May to raise awareness about mental health, reduce stigma, and promote well-being for individuals and communities. Whereas using data from the health trends across community, it is estimated that in 2025, Minneapolis had over 123,000 residents living with diagnosed mental health conditions, including anxiety disorder, bipolar disorder, depressive disorders, PTSD, psychotic disorders, and suicide ideation. And these data underscores the ongoing need for accessible, culturally responsive, and mental health supports. And
whereas regarding children, it is estimated that in 2025, 6,240 young people under the age of 18 in Minneapolis were living with a diagnosed mental health condition, highlighting the importance of early intervention and school-based support. And whereas recent national and local events such as Operation Metro Surge and subsequent community stressors have contributed to increased anxiety, disrupted care, and potential long-term trauma for Minneapolis residents. And
whereas the Minneapolis Health Department acknowledges that May is Mental Health Awareness Month with the theme, it's time to check in with your mental health. No judgment, just support. And whereas the Minneapolis Health Department seeks to reach all community members with this message with intentional focus on youth and communities disproportionately impacted by mental health inequities, including immigrant communities, Black, Indigenous, and communities of color, BIPOC, and LGBTQ plus youth,
And whereas the City of Minneapolis is committed to supporting initiatives such as the Minneapolis School-Based Clinic Program, which provides in-school therapy to thousands of Minneapolis high school students, and the 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline, which prioritizes mental health services, education, and outreach to ensure all residents have access to the resources they need to lead healthy, fulfilling lives.
And whereas community partnerships, including those with local organizations, healthcare providers, schools, and government agencies, are vital in creating a comprehensive system of care that address the mental health needs of all Minneapolis residents.
Whereas city employees are provided resources to improve their mental well-being, such as the Employee Assistance Program, 10 mental health visits covered by insurance at 100%, access to group and private sessions on a variety of topics that impact mental well-being, online support, and various mental health resources in the My Health Rewards by Medica program, reinforcing the city's commitment to employee well-being as a core component of organizational health and service delivery.
Now for there it be resolved that the mayor and city council do hereby recognize May 2026 as Mental Health Awareness Month and calls upon all residents and employees to join in promoting mental health awareness, understanding, and compassion, while also supporting efforts to expand equitable access to mental health services and resources across our city.
And we're green. I'll pass it to our commissioner if you want to say a few words, and maybe some staff as well.
Thank you, Councilmember Chavez. Thank you, City Council, and on behalf of the mayor, thank you for recognition and support. All of you know from the list of data that was listed in the resolution, mental health is one of the major components of the work that we do, both within the health department and within the city. This stretches across our kids, our communities, from old to young, and so we appreciate this time that you've taken to recognize the work that we've done. And I'll be remiss without saying congratulations and thank you to my outstanding team here for the support that they give us through our school-based clinics and our medical mobile unit. So, thank you.
Would y'all like to say a few words? Y'all really help us.
Okay.
Yeah. We'll just thank you all. We'll pose for a photo and then we'll get going.
Next, we will recognize Asian American, Native Hawaiian, and Pacific Islander Heritage Month with Councilmember Chowdhury and Councilmember Chugtai.
So sorry. All right, good morning. This is honoring Asian American, Native Hawaiian, and Pacific Islander Heritage Month in the city of Minneapolis. Whereas Asian American, Native Hawaiian, and Pacific Islander Heritage Month is a month long celebration in May that celebrates the rich and diverse cultures, traditions, and histories of Asian American, Native Hawaiian, and Pacific Islander communities. And whereas AANHPI communities consist of approximately 50 distinct ethnic groups speaking over 100 languages with connections among people in Minneapolis, including but not limited to Bangladeshi, Burmese, Cambodian, Chinese, Filipino, Hmong, Indian, Japanese, Korean, Lao, Pakistani, Thai, Vietnamese ancestries. And whereas over the past 5 decades, thousands of refugees and asylum seekers from Asian countries and cultures have resettled in Minnesota, including Hmong refugees since the 1970s, Vietnamese refugees since the 1980s, and the Korean refugees since the early 2000s, as well as Lao, Cambodian, Burmese, and other Asian communities who have contributed to the state's cultural fabric. And whereas May reminds us to celebrate and honor our AANHPI community members, past and present, and the beautiful ways that they contribute to and enrich our daily lives in Minneapolis. Whereas May commemorates 2 important early dates in AANHPI history. The arrival of the first Japanese immigrants to the United States on May 7th, 1843, that's today, and the completion of the Transcontinental Railroad, largely built by Chinese immigrants on May 10th, 1869. And whereas May provides a time to reflect on the challenging history of the AANHPI communities across different ethnicities. During the past nearly 2 centuries, AANHPI community members have faced countless acts of discrimination and endured traumatic events, including but not limited to the Chinese Exclusion Act of 1882, the Los Angeles Chinese Massacre of 1871, the invasion of the Hawaiian Kingdom in 1893, the 1917 and 1924 immigration laws that effectively ended immigration from Asia until 1965, the British-led partition of India, U.S. military aid, and the Bangladeshi genocide of 1971, and the incarceration of over 120,000 Japanese Americans during World War II, upheld in Korematsu versus the United States, the murder of Vincent Chin in 1982, and the spike of anti-Asian hate and violence throughout the COVID-19 pandemic. And
whereas most recently, members of the AANHPI community were negatively impacted and targeted by federal agents during Operation Metro Surge, undermining their safety, well-being, and the ability to feel secure in their lives. And whereas throughout history, the AANHPI community have often been subjected to the perception of being perpetual foreigners, disregarding their deep roots and enduring contributions to American society. And whereas the pervasive myth of the AANHPI community being the model minority, especially individuals of East Asian and South Asian descent, which has inaccurately portrayed this community as being universally successful, masking the significant socioeconomic disparities and challenges faced by many within the diverse AANHPI community, minimizing the reality of racism and discrimination. And whereas the rise of anti-Asian sentiment and rhetoric has resulted in a surge of hate crimes and discrimination, targeting the AANHPI community, perpetuating fear in these communities. And whereas, despite these challenges, the Asian American, Native Hawaiian, and Pacific Islander communities have persevered and made significant contributions to the American social, economic, and cultural fabric of the United States. And whereas AANHPI communities have contributed greatly to the arts, music, literature, business, science, technology, government, and social movements, enriching the cultural and civic life of Minneapolis and beyond. And whereas organizations such as the Coalition of Asian American Leaders, or CAL, Future for Us, Serving Asian Indian Family Wellness, or SEWA, and the SEED Project nurtures civic leadership, creative expression, and social justice for AANHPI communities across Minneapolis and Minnesota. And whereas AA and HPI entrepreneurs have strengthened Minneapolis's economy, opening businesses that serve diverse neighborhoods and contribute to the vibrancy of the city's markets and cultural corridors. And whereas artists, educators, and leaders from AA and HPI communities have expanded the understanding of shared histories and built intergenerational bridges in Minneapolis and across Minnesota. And whereas Asian American, Native Hawaiian, and Pacific Islanders are among the fastest growing racial groups in the United States and account for about 7.5% of the city of Minneapolis population when considering individuals who identify as Asian or Pacific Islander either alone or as part of their multicultural identity.
Amazing. Oh, you left the last part for me, council member. Thank you. Okay. I was like, why isn't anyone clapping? Hello. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the mayor and city council do hereby recognize the month of May as Asian American, Native Hawaiian, and Pacific Islander Heritage Month and celebrate the rich cultural diversity and contributions of these communities. There we go. I just want to extend a deep gratitude to our amazing city employees here with us who lead the ERG for our AA and HPI community in Minneapolis and helped with this resolution. And I just wanted to offer to one of you to give some remarks to close us out if you would like. Thank you, Jimmy.
Hi there. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Councilmember Chikta and Councilmember Chowdhury. Today is a wonderful day. I'd also like to mention that we have another event later this month on May 28th. Starting at 1, we'll have our AA and HPI Heritage Month potluck. Everybody is welcome to join. Come by, say hi, and get some really delicious food. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Awesome. Let's stand for a picture.
Next, we will recognize Older Adults Month, and I will be presenting that. Thank you. Good morning. Oh, hi. Good morning.
Hi. You can hang on to this one. Oh, I'm gonna hand it over there.
Okay. Come on if you want. Yeah.
Come on.
We are recognizing May 2026 as Older Adults Month in the city of Minneapolis. Whereas the city of Minneapolis is home to a diverse community of older adults who deserve recognition for their lifetime contributions to ensure a better life for future generations. And whereas the city of Minneapolis is committed to being a premier location for older adults, helping all individuals thrive in the communities of their choice for as long as possible. And whereas in 2015, the city of Minneapolis was the first city in the state of Minnesota to receive the age-friendly community designation from AARP in partnership with the World Health Organization. And whereas more than 100,000 people in Minneapolis are over the age of 50, or 30% of the city's population. The projection from the state of Minnesota's demographer's office predicts this population segment will continue to grow. And
whereas to raise awareness of the problems facing seniors and to honor them, then President Kennedy proclaimed May as Senior Citizen Month. 2 years later, in 1965, President Lyndon B. Johnson passed the Older Americans Act of 1965 and formally declared May as Older Americans Month. Currently, the nation continues to observe Older Americans Month, OAM, and whereas the City of Minneapolis continues to celebrate voices and contributions of our deserved community of older adults together in May 2026 and beyond, and whereas the city created the Minneapolis Senior Citizen Advisory Committee in December of 1981 to ensure our older adults have a voice in our city government. In 2015, the committee was reestablished as the Minneapolis Advisory Committee on Aging and is the lead committee for our City of Minneapolis for a lifetime age-friendly action plan. And
whereas the city will continue to provide opportunities to enrich the lives of individuals for all ages by promoting and engaging in activity, wellness, and social inclusion, emphasizing home and community-based services that support independent living, and ensuring community members of all ages benefit from the contributions and experiences of older adults. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the mayor and city council do hereby recognize May 2026 as Older Adults Month in the city of Minneapolis. We urge every resident to take take time this month to celebrate older adults and the people who serve and support them as powerful and vital individuals who greatly contribute to the community. Thank you. Go ahead.
Working? Okay, great. Well, thank you so much to the council for honoring elders in Minneapolis. Like I always remind folks, we're all aging. So what we're doing here is going to be around for generations. So I'm just so honored. My name is Bill Tiedemann. I'm with Trellis, your Metropolitan Area Agency on Aging. What we do, is it not on? Thank you. What we do is actually, it was mentioned about the OAA funds. What we do is we administer the OAA funds for the 7-county region, fund about 35 agencies, $14 million to ensure that there is food out there, transportation, housing, and support for all our aging folks. I'm going to pass it on to Diana.
Hi, I'm Diana Schleisman. I'm the Executive Director of Southeast Seniors. I'm a lifelong Minneapolitan, as was my dad, and I'm proud to be a Minneapolitan and looking forward to staying here for the rest of my life. So thank you so much for this resolution. And I'll pass it to Maya.
Hi, my name is Maya Bremer, and I'm the chair of the Advisory Committee on Aging. And I was a young person in Minneapolis. I've been a lifelong Northeast Minneapolis resident, and I am so happy to be able to age in this city that thinks this way about their seniors. So thank you.
Shall we take a photo? Yeah.
Thank you, Council President.
Yes, 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 yes.
Thank you.
Thank you
very much.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
What's next? Community Action Month. Next, we will recognize Community Action Month with Councilmember Vita, Warren, and Whiting.
Thank you, Council President. How are we, Doctor? It's good, brother. Good to see you. Good to see you.
Well, good morning, everyone. Myself and my colleagues are going to recognize May 2026 as Community Action Month in Minneapolis. We're joined by Dr. Clarence Hightower, who is the Executive Director of CAP-HC. And this is a regular thing for us. We love to talk about the great work that Dr. Hightower and his team over at CAP are doing. I'm fortunate that I get to sit on the board of CAP-HC, and so does Councilmember Whiting. So I'm going to start off, and then we can share. So today we're recognizing May 26th as Community Action Month in Minneapolis. Whereas Community Action creates pathways to prosperity by helping hardworking families achieve economic independence rather than keeping the reliant on government assistance. And whereas Community Action is built on innovation, responsive, and efficient programs that are uniquely tailored to meet local needs.
Whereas Community Action delivers high-impact, cost-effective results that generate a significant return on investment for local communities, and whereas Community Action prepares and connects individuals to private sector jobs to support the local economy, and
whereas community action agencies are trusted pillars of the community that engage volunteers who donate their time to advance local progress, support working families, and contribute to lasting community success, and whereas community action programs deliver effective, high-quality assistance that strengthens community resilience and fosters local prosperity,
And whereas 2026 marks the 40th anniversary of Community Action Partnership of Hennepin County's founding in 1986. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Mayor and City Council do hereby recognize May 2026 as Community Action Month in recognition of the hard work and dedication of all community action organizations, including CAP-HC. You want to say something?
Thank you so much for this proclamation and recognition. On behalf of our board and our staff and those that we serve, we're just humbled for this opportunity to receive this. We're so appreciative of you and Councilmember Whiting serving on the board and providing that leadership. Thank you so much for that. One of the things that I just want to quickly mention is that each year we serve about 11,000 Minneapolis residents in our various services. So thank you again so very much.
Thank you. And I just want to give a plug for those various services, Dr. Hightower. That is rental assistance, assistance with car repairs, assistance with finding jobs, utility assistance. Dr. Hightower is very humble, but they do a lot of work at CAP-HC to make sure that our families have what they need. They were on the front lines of making sure people were housed during the ice surge, and so thank you for your commitment. Thank you for your fast response. I know those applications went up tremendously, and you and your team did a fantastic job of making sure that our families were served in a timely manner. Thank you, Dr. Hightower.
And finally, we will recognize Cinco de Mayo with Councilmember Chavez.
Hello? Awesome. So today we're recognizing the historical significance of Dia de la Batalla de Puebla, the Mexican holiday known as Cinco de Mayo. Whereas the Cinco de Mayo holiday commemorates May 5th, 1862, which was the date the Mexicans were victorious over the French at the Batalla de Puebla. And whereas the victory of Mexico over France at Puebla represented the strength, resiliency, and courage of Mexicans to defend their own community, and whereas sacrifices made by Mexicans betting European forces were instrumental in keeping Mexico from falling under European domination, and
whereas the Battle of Puebla was fought by indigenous people who fought against one of the most powerful nations in the world, whereas Cinco de Mayo represents the victory and the survival of the Mexican population, and whereas 1/3 of the United States belonged to Mexico, but before that acquisition, our ancestors freely crossed the Rio Grande when there was no border, and whereas the foundation of the United States was created by individuals from diverse countries and cultures willing to sacrifice their lives for freedom, and
whereas the celebration of Cinco de Mayo provides an opportunity to celebrate and experience Mexican culture in the United States, to demonstrate cultural pride and to highlight the contributions and influence of language, culture, and traditions by Mexicans and individuals of Mexican ancestry, and whereas Mexican Minnesotans make up the third largest cultural group in Minnesota with 213,800 residents, and where Mexican culture, ingenuity, and traditions, including those that originated from Puebla, Mexico, are part of the social fabric of the city of Minneapolis, and whereas Plaza Mexico will be hosting its Cinco de Mayo festival on Lake Street and Portland Ave South to Lake Street and 2nd Ave South on May 10th, 2026 from 11 a.m. to 8 p.m.
Now, therefore, be it resolved that the mayor and city council of the city of Minneapolis do hereby recognize the historical significance of the Mexican holiday of Cinco de Mayo and the importance of Mexican community in Minneapolis and Minnesota, and encourage residents of the city of Minneapolis to observe Cinco de Mayo with appropriate ceremonies and activities and learn more about the rich history and culture of the Mexican community here in our city and our state. And we really want to make sure that folks are able to come to the events this weekend of Cinco de Mayo on Lake Street. It's really important, hosted by folks at Plaza Mexico. These are our small business owners who have really been struggling from Operation Metro Surge, who have been struggling for a couple of years, who we really want to show up and support. As someone, my parents are from Puebla, Mexico, so it's an important holiday for us to celebrate about how a small little town like Puebla was able to prevent our land from being stolen. So just really want to acknowledge the importance of this holiday for us. And we have folks from Plaza Mexico here today, folks from our community who I really want to acknowledge, and if they would like to say a few words as well. Si quiere decir unas palabras.
Buenos días, mi nombre es Guillermina Figueroa y soy dueña de negocio de Plaza México desde hace 17 años. Tengo una florería dentro de un establecimiento con más de 53 negocios que somos ahí latinos.
Yeah, my name is Guille. I have a flower shop at Plaza Mexico. Plaza Mexico, and I own a shop there. I know I'm going to pay attention more.
Okay. We are more than 53 business owners. Sorry, my English is a little okay. We are more than 53 small business there, and we are here to support and trying to you can show up and go to our business to support us. Everything is struggling, but I know we are community. We can be better and stronger and a strong economy. We are so happy to be here, and we have a lot, some of my colleagues, and they can share some to you guys too. Thank you. We share everything.
No money for lentes. Buenos días, mi nombre es Juanita González y también soy dueña de un local de Plaza México. Después de la operación Metro que impactó nuestra ciudad, los negocios de Plaza México se han visto sumamente afectados, ya que nuestra comunidad es la comunidad de la economía de nuestros negocios. Como sabemos, Plaza México se compone de más de 53 negocios establecidos y algunos de ellos con más de 20 años. Sabiendo que Plaza México es un edificio de múltiples negocios y servicios que la comunidad visita y le gusta estar ahí, ya que hay gran variedad de opciones para su consumo. Sin embargo, este año ha sido sumamente afectado con una pérdida del 90% de las ventas en el 90% de sus negocios, ya que la operación Metro no solo vino a meter miedo en nuestra comunidad, sino también vino a romper con la economía que se tenía formada, afectando totalmente a todos los negocios. Las ayudas que se han ofrecido desafortunadamente no ha sido suficiente, ya que algunos negocios no han recibido absolutamente nada para poder sobrevivir los gastos acumulados que se generaron en estos meses de dificultad. Nos gustaría sentir que nuestros negocios son importantes para ustedes, ya que como parte del Consejo de la Ciudad y pudieran tener importancia que nuestra economía siguiera fuerte y estable, como se considera no solo la ciudad de Minneapolis, sino Minnesota en general. Gracias. Esperamos ser escuchados y apoyados.
I'm going to try to read this to interpret what she said. Good morning, everyone. Operation Metro Surge impacted the city and our small businesses at Plaza Mexico, who have been impacted drastically, and the economy of our small businesses have been impacted. At Plaza Mexico, we are more than 53 small businesses, many of whom have been here for over 20 years. And knowing that Plaza Mexico, this building, has many small businesses and services for our community, we would like to see a variety of options for our communities. In fact, this year, we have lost over 90% of our revenue, and 90% of our small businesses have been impacted from Operation Metro Surge because of the fear that our community has been through. The help that has been offered has not really been going to all of our small businesses in our Plaza Mexico, and we would like for us to get more support to address the support for our small businesses. We would like for our community members to feel like we are being heard, and for the city council to hear us as well. We also wanted to read the resolution in Spanish because obviously our community is hearing this, but we have folks that want to read the resolution in Spanish too. So.
Reconocimiento, la importancia de la historia del Día de la Batalla de Puebla, la festividad mexicana del 5 de mayo. Considerando que la festividad del 5 de mayo conmemora el 5 de mayo de 1862, fecha en la que los mexicanos resultaron victoriosos sobre los franceses en la batalla de Puebla, y considerando que la victoria de México sobre Francia en Puebla representaba la fortaleza, la resiliencia y el valor de los mexicanos para defender a su propia comunidad, y considerando que los sacrificios realizados por los mexicanos al combatir a las fuerzas europeas fueron fundamentales para evitar que México cayera bajo la dominación europea, y considerando que la batalla de Puebla fue librada por pueblos indígenas que lucharon contra una de las naciones más poderosas del mundo, y considerando que el 5 de mayo representa la victoria y la supervivencia de la población mexicana, y considerando que una tercera parte de los Estados Unidos pertenecía a México, pero antes de dicha adquisición, nuestros antepasados cruzaban libremente el Río Grande cuando aún no existía una frontera, y considerando que los cimientos de los Estados Unidos fueron establecidos por individuos provenientes de diversos países y culturas dispuestos a sacrificar sus vidas en aras de la libertad, y considerando que la celebración del 5 de mayo brinda la oportunidad de celebrar y reconocer la cultura mexicana en los Estados Unidos, de demostrar orgullo, cultura y destacar las contribuciones y la influencia del idioma, la cultura y las tradiciones aportadas por mexicanos y por las personas de ascendencia mexicana, y considerando que los habitantes de Minnesota de origen mexicano constituyen el tercer grupo cultural más numeroso del estado, con una población de 213,800 residentes. Y considerando que la cultura, el ingenio y las tradiciones mexicanas, incluidas aquellas originadas de Puebla, México, forman parte del tejido social de la ciudad de Minneapolis, y considerando que Plaza México será anfitriona de su festival 5 de mayo, el cual se llevará a cabo a lo largo del tramo comprendido entre Lake Street y Portland Avenue Sur, hasta Lake Street y Segunda Avenue Sur, el día 10 de mayo del 2026 en un horario de 11 a 8 de la noche. Por lo tanto, se resuelve que el alcalde y el Consejo Municipal de la ciudad de Minneapolis reconocen por la presente la importancia histórica de la festividad mexicana del 5 de mayo, así como la importancia de la comunidad mexicana en Minneapolis y Minnesota, y alientan a los residentes de la ciudad de Minneapolis a conmemorar el 5 de mayo mediante ceremonias y actividades apropiadas, y aprender más sobre la rica historia y cultura de la comunidad mexicana aquí en nuestra ciudad y estado.
Muchas gracias. Vamos a tomar una foto aquí. We're going to take a quick photo over here. And thanks so much. Okay.
Thank you, everyone. At this time, I'm going to call our regular meeting of the City Council for May 7th to order. The clerk will call the roll.
Councilmember Stevenson.
Present.
Councilmember Rainville.
Present.
Councilmember Viton.
Present.
Councilmember Palmisano.
Present.
Councilmember Chavez.
Present.
Councilmember Warren.
Present.
Councilmember Schaefer.
Present.
Councilmember Wansley.
Present.
Councilmember Shugtai is absent. Councilmember Whiting.
Present.
Councilmember Chowdhury.
Present.
Vice President Osman.
Present.
President Payne.
Present.
There are 12 members present.
Let the record reflect that we have a quorum. Before we begin the meeting, let me remind all members and staff that this meeting is broadcast to enable greater public participation. The broadcast includes real-time captioning as a means to increase the accessibility of our proceedings to the community. Therefore, all speakers need to be mindful of the rate of their speech so our capturers can fully capture and transcribe all comments for the broadcast. We ask all speakers to moderate the speed and clarity of their comments. With that, the agenda for today's meeting is before us. Are there any amendments to the agenda?
Right.
Councilmember Chowdhury.
Thank you, President Payne. I have an amendment to the agenda. It should be before you. I'm grabbing it so I can present it to you all. So I move to amend the agenda to include a gift acceptance under the new order of new business from Local Progress for myself to attend Local Progress's federal deployment convening in Los Angeles from May 18th to 20th. And I will ask for a second.
Second.
Councilmember Chowdhury has moved to amend the agenda. That's been seconded. Are there any other amendments? I also recognize, note we've been joined by Councilmember Chugtai. Any other amendments? Seeing none, I'll ask the clerk to call the roll on the agenda as amended.
Councilmember Stevenson.
Aye.
Councilmember Rainville.
Aye.
Councilmember Vita.
Aye.
Councilmember Palmisano.
Aye.
Councilmember Chavez.
Aye.
Councilmember Warren.
Aye.
Councilmember Schaefer.
Aye.
Councilmember Wansley.
Aye.
Councilmember Shabtai.
Aye.
Councilmember Whiting.
Aye.
Councilmember Chowdhury.
Aye.
Vice President Osman.
Aye.
President Payne.
Aye.
There are 13 ayes.
That carries and the agenda is adopted. The next item is acceptance of the minutes from our adjourned meeting of April 22nd and our regular meeting of April 23rd. May I have a motion to accept those minutes?
So moved. Second.
The clerk will call the roll.
Councilmember Stevenson.
Aye.
Councilmember Rainville.
Aye.
Councilmember Vita.
Aye.
Councilmember Palmisano.
Aye.
Councilmember Chavez.
Aye.
Councilmember Warren.
Aye.
Councilmember Schaefer.
Aye.
Councilmember Wansley.
Aye.
Councilmember Shabtai.
Aye.
Councilmember Whiting.
Aye.
Councilmember Chowdhury.
Aye.
Vice President Osman.
Aye.
President Payne.
Aye.
There are 13 ayes.
That carries and the minutes have been accepted. Finally, we have the referral of petitions, communications, and reports to proper committees. May I have that motion, please?
So moved. Second.
The clerk will call the roll.
Councilmember Stevenson.
Aye.
Councilmember Rainville.
Aye.
Councilmember Vita.
Aye.
Councilmember Palmisano.
Aye.
Councilmember Chavez.
Aye.
Councilmember Warren.
Aye.
Councilmember Schaefer.
Aye.
Councilmember Wansley.
Aye.
Councilmember Shabtai.
Aye.
Councilmember Whiting.
Aye.
Councilmember Chowdhury.
Aye.
Vice President Osman.
Aye.
President Payne.
Aye.
There are 13 ayes.
That carries and those matters have been referred. I'll note that the mics are a little bit hard to pick up, so make sure you get them close and speak very loudly into them. The next order of business is the presentation of reports from our standing committees. Those are taken in alphabetical order, beginning with the report of our budget committee, given by that committee's chair, Councilmember Chugtai.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Budget Committee is bringing forward 2 items for the body's consideration today. Item number 1 approves the 2026 Consolidated Action Plan budget adjustments, and item number 2 amends the 2026 General Appropriations Resolution to roll over unspent 2025 appropriations, largely in the funds outside of the general fund. I will move approval of these items and happy to answer any questions.
Councilmember Chugtai has moved approval of the committee's report. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, I will ask the clerk to call the roll.
Councilmember Stevenson.
Aye.
Councilmember Rainville.
Aye.
Councilmember Vita.
Aye.
Councilmember Palmisano.
Aye.
Councilmember Chavez.
Aye.
Councilmember Warren.
Aye.
Councilmember Schaefer.
Aye.
Councilmember Wansley.
Aye.
Councilmember Shabtai.
Aye.
Councilmember Whiting.
Aye.
Councilmember Chowdhury.
Aye.
Vice President Osman.
Aye.
President Payne.
Aye.
There are 13 ayes.
That carries and the report is adopted. Next, the report of business, housing, and zoning, given by that committee's chair, Vice President Osman.
Thank you, Council President. Business, Housing, and Zoning Committee is bringing 12 items forward today. Item 1 is approves 3 liquor license. Item 2 approves 26 liquor license renewals. Item 3 approves 2 gambling license. Item 4 approves 2 gambling license renewals. Item 5 approves amended guideline for the Vibrant Storefront Initiative. Item 6 authorizes master contract for public arts managers. Item 7 accepts a bid for carpet replacements for Minneapolis Convention Center. Item 8 authorizes a contract amendment for the Minneapolis Convention Center pizza project. Item 9 is a contract amendment with Minneapolis. I want to note staff has been working with the council for revised staff report, which is printed, and also there is also a motion to amend that. Item 10 approves street renaming in honor of Officer Jamal Mitchell for Blaisdell to Blaisdell Avenue. Item 11 authorizes an updated agreement with Cowless Center. And lastly, item 12 is the John Cook House appeal. This item was forwarded without recommendation. And with that, I'll move all items for approval except 9, 10, and 12. And thank you so much for separate vote as well. Thank you so much.
Vice President Osmond has moved approval of the committee report minus items 9, 10, and 12. Is there any discussion on the remainder of the report? Councilmember Rainville.
Thank you, President. I'd like to speak to number 10. I don't think we need a separate vote, but I would like to speak to that.
Oh, we'll take that up right after we finish the rest of the consent. Councilmember Chugtai.
Thank you, Mr. President. I am I'm in queue to speak on item number 10, so we can wait till we dispose of the remainder of the consent agenda.
Okay. Seeing no one else left in queue, I will ask the clerk to call the roll on all items except 9, 10, and 12.
Councilmember Stevenson.
Aye.
Councilmember Rainville.
Aye.
Councilmember Vitaw.
Aye.
Councilmember Palmisano.
Aye.
Councilmember Chavez.
Aye on
Coun-
all except 7, sorry.
Councilmember Warren.
Aye.
Councilmember Schaefer.
Aye.
Councilmember Wansley.
Aye on all except 7.
Councilmember Chugtai.
Aye on all items except number 7.
Councilmember Whiting.
Aye.
Councilmember Chowdhury.
Aye.
Vice President Osman.
Aye.
President Payne.
Aye.
There are 13 ayes on the report except for item number 7, which has 10 ayes and 3 nays.
Those items carry. Colleagues, I am going to recommend that we take up item number 10 first, as we have the family in the audience. And I will recognize Vice President Osman.
Thank you so much, Council President. I am here to speak on item 10. I want to honor Officer Jamal Mitchell and deep sacrifice he made for this city. Officer Jamal Mitchell gave his life while protecting our community. His actions show the courage, dedication, and compassion he carried every day. To his family who are here with us today, I want to say our community sees you. We share in your grief. The loss you carry is something no family should ever have to bear. And we are grateful for the service and bravery that Officer Mitchell shared with all of us. Recognizing his life in a public and lasting way is a meaningful way for us to remind us the value he embedded. He embedded services and commitment and love for the people of Minneapolis. It gives our city a place to pause, reflect, and remember the man who gave so much to our city. Thank you so much for being here. I will approve this item for approval. Before my colleagues speak on this item also, if with no objection, if there's, I would like to give, suspend the rules and give our Chief O'Hara an opportunity to speak. And I'll hand it to you, Council President.
If there's no objection, Chief.
Council President, Council Vice President, members, thank you. Tori, there is not a day that goes by that Jamal is forgotten. He's remembered literally every single day. I know for all of us, every time I go past Blaisdell Avenue and Franklin Avenue, I say a prayer. And I hope that today, because of the action of this city council, it will provide some solace to you. This city for years and years and years, for everyone who goes past that intersection, will know that the name Jamal Mitchell represents a hero. That is a man who stepped forward when everyone else was fleeing to do a difficult job. And he lived his life every single day for the people of this community in a way that lives up to the very highest expectations that we could possibly have for a public servant, right to the minute of his death. And so, thank you so much, Councilmember Chugtai, all the members of the council who have brought this forward, so that everyone will know for years and years and years that the name Jamal Mitchell represents a true hero. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Chugtai.
Thank you, Mr. President. Want to thank Chief O'Hara for his work in bringing forward this commemorative street renaming for this section of Blaisdell Avenue that has really truly redefined the history of and the story of this part of our community. And I think it's a really important thing to be commemorating the loss of a city employee, of a young city employee, someone who saw public service in the way that Officer Mitchell did, and really meant it. I want to share some words from a few of the folks that have helped pull together this commemorative renaming. And so I'm going to just share a statement from Ms. Johnson, who is the founder and president of the Minneapolis Honor Guard and Color Guard Foundation. Their mission is to honor the departed and comfort the bereaved. And it's work that I know is deeply personal to them as well, and can share in the experience, the tragic experience of losing your loved one in this way. So with us today is Tori Mislachek, the life partner of Officer Jamal Mitchell, whose memory you will be honoring by the renaming of a portion of Blaisdell Avenue. Also with us are Tori and Jamal's children, Jalen, Caden, and Mason, and Tori's mom, Terry. Thank you for being here. We are so proud of Jamal for his heroism, his decency, and his kindness. Jamal was a well-respected officer, and he was much loved by his family, his friends, and his colleagues. He was a friendly and caring person whom the children of the 5th Precinct trusted and looked up to. And of course, to Tori and their children, Jamal was the whole world. We're grateful to Mayor Fry, to Chief O'Hara, and to members of the City Council for helping us to honor the life and sacrifice of Officer Jamal Mitchell, badge 4819, end of watch, May 30th, 2024. Thank you very much, and we're grateful to have you with us today.
Councilmember Rainville.
Thank you. Just briefly, I wanted to express my gratitude for the family coming here today, and I agree so much with the chief. Jamal was a hero, and whether it was reaching out to help an unknown victim, driving into that unknown dangerous circumstance and being assassinated, even as he started his career, he entered a very dangerous situation of fire and saved 2 lives. This just is an unfortunate example of what our police officers face every day. Jamal rose to the occasion, and it's very appropriate for us to rename that street so everybody knows going into the future what a true hero he was. Thank you.
Councilmember Schaefer.
I'll just say May 30th is forever in my calendar as a reminder of what Jamal Mitchell gave to all of us and the greatest sacrifice that he gave. I believe his life will continue to motivate us all to reflect on how we daily are giving back, how we daily are sacrificing for the needs of those around us. So thank you to his family. His memory will forever live on.
Councilmember Whiting.
Thank you, Chair Payne. Just want a note to you, Tori. I got to know Officer Mitchell about a few months prior to May 30th, and my job previously to this job was finding those that embodied what it was to be a good officer. And Jamal was one of those folks. I was like, hey, this is a guy that we need to make sure is what a Minneapolis police officer should embody. And getting to know him I had just got engaged at the time. He was similar in that way, and I was asking him, hey, what am I supposed to do? How do I plan a wedding? He gave me a lot of really good advice. But just know there are a lot of people that are very lucky to have encountered your fiance, your partner, and a lot of us are better for it. And so thank you for sharing him with us.
Councilmember Chowdhury.
Thank you, President Payne. I'll keep my remarks brief. I think my council colleagues have just put it very, very well today. I just want to thank Officer Jamal Mitchell for his service and thank his family for being such a big support system to him. And I am so deeply sorry for your loss, Tori. And to Jalen, Caden, and Mason, It was really good to just chat with you before this meeting. Thank you so much for sharing about the things that you're excited about right now, the Timberwolves, the necklace that you got from your best friend. And I just want to say, I know it's really, really tough to lose a parent and a loved one. And I just want to say to you, you have a whole community of people that have your back. You're some amazing kiddos, and we're super invested in your future. And I just want to encourage you to never give up and just keep on fighting for that bright future ahead.
Councilmember Rainville. Okay. On the motion by Vice President Osmond to approve this item, I want to make sure there's a second.
Second.
The clerk will call the roll.
Councilmember Stevenson.
Aye.
Councilmember Rainville.
Aye.
Councilmember Vita.
Aye.
Councilmember Palmisano.
Aye.
Councilmember Chavez.
Aye.
Councilmember Warren.
Aye.
Councilmember Schaefer.
Aye.
Councilmember Wansley.
Aye.
Councilmember Shugtai.
Aye.
Councilmember Whiting.
Aye.
Councilmember Chowdhury.
Aye.
Vice President Osmond.
Aye.
President Payne.
Aye.
There are 13 ayes.
That carries. And we will now take up item number 9. Is there any discussion on this item? Councilmember Wansley.
Thank you, President Payne. I know this prompted some conversation in the Business Committee in regards to the stipulations of the unearned incentives attached to Meet Minneapolis, and in terms of which I think Council Member Chavez will speak to it in his resolution, the delegation of decision making regarding how those funds get expended by the COO, and also through a follow-up staff meeting or memo that we received from Jeff Johnson, who helps oversees the convention center, and made it very clear that that type of delegation would be in place around where this funding goes for the next 3 years. So, in really productive conversations with both COO, Margaret Anderson Callagher, as well as Jeff Johnson, we were able to modify this agreement so that the COO will be able to work with Minneapolis to give them the $400,000 in unearned incentives, with $200,000 of that going to Taste of Minnesota. And then I'll again let Councilmember Chavez speak to the intent of the other remaining $200,000, but that will make sure that operations can proceed forward for the rest of this year. And then we'll revisit the other aspects in subsequent meetings, because that would mean $3 million would be decided just unilaterally by the COO if we had approved the original amendments, and those dollars in the proposals with them would not have necessarily come back for council review. So I'm glad that we were able to get to a place of agreement on this, and this amendment reflects that. So I will move this item for approval and ask for a second.
Second.
Councilmember Wansley has moved this item for approval as amended, correct? Okay. And that's been properly seconded. Councilmember Chavez.
Thank you, President Payne. I have a motion. I'm trying to figure out the best process here, if we want to move it together or separately. Together? Okay, I can speak to it if I may. There's a motion I'm attaching, and after conversations with our COO as well, this motion, I'll just read it for the public. It says the administration must report to the City Council on the potential use of any remaining incentive funds beyond those specifically permitted as activities promoting Minneapolis as a tourist or event destination pursuant to the contract amendment with the Greater Minneapolis Convention and Visitors Association. So basically, I think we want to make sure that there's a report to the council on how the money will be used. Oh, and I forgot to read the last part, before any such funds are spent. And I think that's important. I think in the Business, Housing, and Zoning Committee, we talked about how that money is going to be used. Councilmember Warren and myself, have talked about, what about cultural events, other events, even in downtown, how it could benefit our communities. So really wanted to just bring this forward so there can still be conversations and a report to the City Council. The COO has committed to talking to us on how the money could be used, but wanted to put this into writing.
Councilmember Chavez has moved to amend the underlying motion. Is there a second?
Second.
And without objection, we'll just take it up as a full package, and I'll recognize Vice President Osmond.
Yeah, thank you. As the chair of BIS, I want to speak about what my colleagues say, which is they did the work and talked to COO and Director Jeff Johnson, and they did give the go-ahead on this. And also, I think they're just promoting businesses to come here and making sure Test of Minnesota is coming, and we getting the traffic in our city is very, very important. So I'm committed to really supporting that vision the CEO has. So thanks a lot.
Councilmember Warren.
Thank you, Council President. I just want to support the things that my colleagues are saying, and then for everyone to keep in mind that these are remaining incentive funds, and that we're hoping that we don't have remaining incentive funds in the future, that those are able to really go to support the hard work that that our activities and you know, the tourist events and things like that really ramp up in the city, and downtown comes alive the way that we've known for it to be in previous. But we do want to make sure that we have, you know, while we have this change, that we can reflect multiple changes in the downtown and supporting a multitude of different cultural events and activities to really meet Minneapolis where it's at. With all of the beautiful resolutions that we put forth today, we have a multitude of community that, you know, deserves to be celebrated in so many ways. And so I would just really love to see that and highlight that while we got this little change that we got. So, and that's it. Thank you. The end.
With that, I see no one else left in queue, and I'll ask the clerk to call the roll on item number 9 as amended.
Councilmember Stevenson.
Aye.
Councilmember Rainville.
Aye.
Councilmember Vita.
Aye.
Councilmember Palmisano.
Aye.
Councilmember Chavez.
Aye.
Councilmember Warren.
Aye.
Councilmember Schaefer.
Aye.
Councilmember Walmsley.
Aye.
Councilmember Shugtai.
Aye.
Councilmember Whiting.
Aye.
Councilmember Chowdhury.
Aye.
Vice President Osmond.
Aye.
President Payne.
Aye.
There are 13 ayes.
That item carries. Finally, we will take up item number 12, which is the Certificate of Appropriateness Appeal for 1717 Developers, LLC, 948 18th Avenue Northeast, also known as the Cookhouse. I am actually going to make a motion that we hold this for a cycle. There's been a lot of conversations between the parties. I've been working with the chair of BIS to try to get to a resolution that works for both the current owner and prospective owners within the community, and we just need a little bit more time. It sounds like there's a lot of agreement. I see a lot of head nodding. So my motion is to hold this for one more cycle. And may I get a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion on this? Seeing none, I will ask the clerk to call the roll.
Councilmember Stevenson.
Aye.
Councilmember Rainville.
Aye.
Councilmember Vita.
Aye.
Councilmember Palmisano.
Aye.
Councilmember Chavez.
Aye.
Councilmember Warren.
Aye.
Councilmember Schaefer.
Aye.
Councilmember Walmsley.
Aye.
Councilmember Shugtai.
Aye.
Councilmember Whiting.
Aye.
Councilmember Chowdhury.
Aye.
Vice President Osmond.
Aye.
President Payne.
Aye.
There are 13 ayes.
That carries, and we will take up that item at our next regularly scheduled council meeting. The next report is from our Climate and Infrastructure Committee, which will be presented by that committee's chair, Councilmember Wansley.
Thank you, President Payne. The C&I Committee has 8 items to bring forward. The first is resolutions related to the project approval and assessment, the 27th Avenue Northeast resurfacing project. Number 2 is resolutions related for the project approval, assessment, and areaway abandonment for the University Avenue Southeast and 4th Street Southeast reconstruction project. 3 is accepting a Minnesota Pollution Control Agency planning grant for North Minneapolis flood mitigation projects feasibility evaluation. Number 4 is accepting a Minnesota Pollution Control Agency planning grant for East Minneapolis flood mitigation projects feasibility evaluation. Number 5 is resolution related to gift acceptance from the National Association of City Transportation Officials. Number 6 is accepting a low bid for 26th Street East and Hiawatha Avenue Safety Improvement Project. Number 7 is accepting a low bid for Whittier Safe Routes to School Phase 2 project. And number 8 is accepting a low bid for the construction of Nicollet Avenue irrigation systems. And I'll move the full report for approval.
Councilmember Wansley has moved approval of the committee's report. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, I will ask the clerk to call the roll.
Councilmember Stevenson.
Aye.
Councilmember Rainville.
Aye.
Councilmember Vitoff.
Aye.
Councilmember Palmisano.
Aye.
Councilmember Chavez.
Aye.
Councilmember Warren.
Aye.
Councilmember Schaefer.
Aye.
Councilmember Wansley.
Aye.
Councilmember Shugtai.
Aye.
Councilmember Whiting.
Aye.
Councilmember Chowdhury.
Aye.
Vice President Osman.
Aye.
President Payne.
Aye.
There are 13 ayes.
That carries and the report is adopted. Next, we'll have the report from our committee of the whole given by that committee's chair, Councilmember Chowdhury.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Committee of the Whole will be bringing forward 4 items today. Item number 1 approves a firearms regulation ordinance. Item number 2 approves a resolution supporting the study for new passenger rail corridors. Item number 3 approves a gift acceptance resolution for President Payne. And lastly, item number 4 approves a resolution honoring Cinco de Mayo. With that, I will move all items for approval.
Councilmember Chowdhury has moved the committee report for approval. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, I'll ask the clerk to call the roll.
Councilmember Stevenson.
Aye.
Councilmember Rainville.
Aye.
Councilmember Vitoff.
Aye.
Councilmember Palmisano.
Aye.
Councilmember Chavez.
Aye.
Councilmember Warren.
Aye.
Councilmember Schaefer.
Aye.
Councilmember Wansley.
Aye.
Councilmember Shugtai.
Aye.
Councilmember Whiting.
Aye.
Councilmember Chowdhury.
Aye.
Vice President Osman.
Aye.
President Payne.
Aye.
There are 13 ayes.
That carries and the report is adopted. Next is a report of our Enterprise and Labor Relations Committee, which will be presented by its chair, Councilmember Palmisano.
Mr. President, I'm going to ask Councilmember Whiting to read this report as he conducted the meeting.
Councilmember Whiting.
Thank you, President Payne. The ELR Committee has 4 items to bring forward today. Number 1 is the passage of a resolution amending the designation of polling locations for 2026. Number 2 is a contract amendment with Guidehouse Inc. to conduct comparable jurisdiction research. Number 3 is a legal settlement for workers' compensation claim of Rita Duran. Number 4 is a gift acceptance from Bloomberg Philanthropies and the Project on Municipal Innovation. I will move to approve the full report.
Councilmember Whiting has moved approval of the committee's report. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, I'll ask the clerk to call the roll.
Councilmember Stevenson.
Aye.
Councilmember Rainville.
Aye.
Councilmember Vitoff.
Aye.
Councilmember Palmisano.
Aye.
Councilmember Chavez.
Aye.
Councilmember Warren.
Aye on all except 1.
Councilmember Schaefer.
Aye.
Councilmember Wansley.
Aye.
Councilmember Shugtai.
Aye.
Councilmember Whiting.
Aye.
Councilmember Chowdhury.
Aye.
Vice President Osman.
Aye.
President Payne.
Aye.
There are 13 ayes on the report except for number 1, which has 12 ayes and 1 nay.
That carries, and that completes the committee report. Finally, we have the Public Health, Safety, and Equity Committee, which will be presented by that committee's chair, Councilmember Chavez.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Public Health, Safety, and Equity Committee will be bringing forward 7 items. Item number 1 authorizes a contract amendment with various vendors to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. Item number 2 approves a high-density drug trafficking areas program grant for regional drug threats. Item number 3 is a gift acceptance from Big Cities Health Coalition. Item number 4 is a gift acceptance from Pennsylvania Carey Law School. Item number 5 approves a first responder pilot legislative directive. Item number 6 authorizes a contract with Restorative Justice Community Action for restorative justice program services. Item number 7 authorizes a joint powers agreement with Hennepin County for provision of social worker services. I move approval of these items.
Councilmember Chavez has moved approval of the committee report. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, I'll ask the clerk to call the roll.
Councilmember Stevenson.
Aye.
Councilmember Rainville.
Aye.
Councilmember Vita.
Aye.
Councilmember Palmisano.
Aye.
Councilmember Chavez.
Aye.
Councilmember Warren.
Aye.
Councilmember Schaefer.
Aye.
Councilmember Wansley.
Aye.
Councilmember Shugtai.
Aye.
Councilmember Whiting.
Aye.
Councilmember Chowdhury.
Aye.
Vice President Osman.
Aye.
President Payne.
Aye.
There are 13 ayes.
That carries, and the report is adopted, and that completes the reports of our standing committees. The next order of business is notice of ordinance introductions. We have 2 notices today. First, council members Chowdhury, Chavez, and Chugtai give notice of intent to introduce at the next regular meeting of the City Council the subject matter of an ordinance amending the housing code, removing provisions mandating regular reporting related to encampment removals. Second, council members Chavez, Osman, Chugtai, and Chowdhury give notice of intent to introduce at the next regular meeting of the City Council the subject matter of an ordinance amending the administration code, adding a section 18.210 relating to law enforcement agency agreements, concealment of identity. Are there any questions about these notices?
Mr.
Councilmember
President.
Chowdhury.
Yes, Mr. President, it is to go over to the clerks to talk about the first notice of intent. So I'll pass it over to Clerk Carl.
Mr. President, and with apologies to the council, this notice is unnecessary. The underlying issue is intended to address a Scrivener's error that was caught when the encampment reporting ordinance was enacted. Very briefly, there was an entire subsection under section 244.60 of Title 12, which is our housing code, that was removed from housing, and it was placed under, created a new chapter 237 in Title 11, which is our health and sanitation code. And because the ordinance addresses separate titles, this was a technical change to the code. I consulted the city attorney this morning. Prior to the meeting, we concur it's a Scrivener's error that wasn't addressed during the drafting process. The clear intent of the body was to move those provisions from the housing code to the health and sanitation code, and that was accomplished. We merely failed to strike out the duplicate language that then was left behind in the housing code. So we don't require formal action to make that technical correction. We believe the record's clear that the intent was to place those existing provisions of the ordinance in the health and sanitation code. So my recommendation is to have this item deleted from the agenda. I will note for the record that we will make the clerical correction both to the enacting ordinance and to the codified act in the code.
Yes, and I will make the motion to delete it from the agenda. Super excited to learn that we won't have to do any additional work. It's already done.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. On the motion to delete item number 1 under the notice of ordinance introductions from the agenda, the clerk will call the roll.
Councilmember Stevenson.
Aye.
Councilmember Rainville.
Aye.
Councilmember Vita.
Aye.
Councilmember Palmisano.
Aye.
Councilmember Chavez.
Aye.
Councilmember Warren.
Aye.
Councilmember Schaefer.
Aye.
Councilmember Wansley.
Aye.
Councilmember Shugtai.
Aye.
Councilmember Whiting.
Aye.
Councilmember Chowdhury.
Aye.
Vice President Osman.
Aye.
President Payne.
Aye.
There are 13 ayes.
That carries, and that item will be removed from our agenda. And the item number 2 has been noticed, and no further action is required at this time. The next order of business is the introduction and referral calendar. We have 1 item today. Pursuant to notice, I, along with council members Wansley, Stevenson, Chavez, Chugtai, and Chowdhury, move to introduce the subject matter of an ordinance amending the Health and Sanitation Code for first reading and referral to the Public Health, Safety, and Equity Committee, addressing gaps in the Health Department's authority to act to reduce the spread of infectious diseases. May I have a motion to approve this introduction?
So moved.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, I'll ask the clerk to call the roll.
Councilmember Stevenson.
Aye.
Councilmember Rainville.
Aye.
Councilmember Vita.
Aye.
Councilmember Palmisano.
Aye.
Councilmember Chavez.
Aye.
Councilmember Warren.
Aye.
Councilmember Schaefer.
Aye.
Councilmember Wansley.
Aye.
Councilmember Shugtai.
Aye.
Councilmember Whiting.
Aye.
Councilmember Chowdhury.
Aye.
Vice President Osman.
Aye.
President Payne.
Aye.
There are 13 ayes.
That carries, and the item will be referred to the Public Health, Safety, and Equity Committee. The next order of business is resolutions. We had 7 resolutions on our agenda today, although I'll note that one of those was approved in the Committee of the Whole. Do council members have any comments to add? Seeing none, may I have a motion to adopt the resolutions?
So
Second.
The clerk will call the roll.
Councilmember Stevenson.
Aye.
Councilmember Rainville.
Aye.
Councilmember Vita.
Aye.
Councilmember Palmisano.
Aye.
Councilmember Chavez.
Aye.
Councilmember Warren.
Aye.
Councilmember Schaefer.
Aye.
Councilmember Wansley.
Aye.
Councilmember Shugtai.
Aye.
Councilmember Whiting.
Aye.
Councilmember Chowdhury.
Aye.
Vice President Osman.
Aye.
President Payne.
Aye.
There are 13 ayes.
That carries, and those resolutions are adopted. Our next order of business is unfinished business. We have 3 items today. The first item is the automatic reconsideration of the mayor's veto of ordinance 2026-006, which was the carryover criminalization ordinance that sought to decriminalize the possession of drug paraphernalia. I'll ask the clerk to explain our next steps.
Thank you, Mr. President. As you noted, the mayor did veto this act, and he returned it together with his objections in writing as required by city charter. That matter is contained in LIMS file number 2026-00096. It's linked from today's agenda. Pursuant to section 4.4C3 of the city charter and under council rule 7.8, an act that's vetoed by the mayor is returned to the council for automatic reconsideration at its next meeting. That matter is now before the body in the exact same form, without debate and without amendment. And the immediate question to be decided by council is as follows. Shall the decision of the city council stand, notwithstanding the veto of the mayor? If at least 2/3 of the body votes in the affirmative, then the mayor's veto is overridden and the original act is adopted. Otherwise, the veto is sustained. That means if there are at least 9 affirmative or aye votes, then the veto is overridden and the ordinance is adopted. Otherwise, the ordinance is defeated. With that, Mr. President, I'm prepared to call the roll on the automatic reconsideration.
Members, are there any questions about the procedure? Seeing none, I will summarize that the motion to reconsider the veto of the drug paraphernalia ordinance to override this requires at least 9 affirmative votes. That's aye votes. The clerk will call the roll.
Councilmember Stevenson.
Aye.
Councilmember Rainville.
No.
Councilmember Vita.
No.
Councilmember Palmisano.
No.
Councilmember Chavez.
Aye.
Councilmember Warren.
No.
Councilmember Schaefer.
No.
Councilmember Wansley.
Aye.
Councilmember Shugtai.
Aye.
Councilmember Whiting.
Aye.
Councilmember Chowdhury.
Aye.
Vice President Osman.
No.
President Payne.
Aye.
There are 7 ayes and 6 nays.
That motion fails and the mayor's veto is sustained. The ordinance is not adopted. The next item is the automatic reconsideration of the mayor's veto of ordinance 2026-005, which sought to temporarily extend the length of the required pre-eviction notice. I will again ask the clerk to explain our next steps.
Mr. President, again, the mayor did veto this ordinance and returned that together with his objections in writing as required by charter. The matter is contained in LIMS file number 2026-00352 and is linked from today's agenda. And again, pursuant to section 4.4C3 of the city charter and under council rule 7.8, an act that's vetoed by the mayor is returned to the council for automatic reconsideration at its next meeting without debate, without amendment. The question then to be decided by council is as follows. Shall the decision of city council stand, notwithstanding the veto of the mayor? And if at least 2/3 of council votes in the affirmative, then the mayor's veto is overridden and the original act is adopted. Otherwise, the veto is sustained. That means if there are at least 9 affirmative or aye votes, the veto is overridden. With that, Mr. President, I'm prepared to call the roll on automatic reconsideration.
Okay, again, to override this veto, it requires at least 9 affirmative aye votes. The clerk will call the roll.
Councilmember Stevenson.
Aye.
Councilmember Rainville.
No.
Councilmember Vita.
No.
Councilmember Palmisano.
No.
Councilmember Chavez.
Aye.
Councilmember Warren.
No.
Councilmember Schaefer.
No.
Councilmember Wansley.
Aye.
Councilmember Shugtai.
Aye.
Councilmember Whiting.
No.
Councilmember Chowdhury.
Aye.
Vice President Osman.
Aye.
President Payne.
Aye.
There are 7 ayes and 6 nays.
That motion fails and the mayor's veto is sustained. The ordinance is not adopted. Finally, we have the mayor's nomination of Todrick Barnett to the appointed position of Commissioner of Community Safety. I'm going to first ask the clerk to explain why this matter remains on the agenda.
Thank you, Mr. President. As the body is aware, the mayor vetoed council's rejection of the nomination of Mr. Barnett to the appointed position of Community Safety Commissioner. At the last regular meeting, council was unable to override that veto, meaning that the veto was sustained. The city attorney provided a very thorough legal analysis of the matter in light of the Minneapolis City Charter. The conclusion, in summary, is that the effect of a sustained veto nullifies council's prior vote. That means this nomination remains pending before the body until council takes some dispositive action. Procedurally, then, the mayor's nomination is on the table, and a proper motion on that nomination would be in order at this time. If council takes no action, the nomination remains on the council's agenda and would continue to be brought forward each cycle until final action is taken. Purely for the purposes of example, actions which would be considered dispositive or appropriate to make would be a renewed motion to reject the nomination, or at the other end of that spectrum, a motion to approve the nomination, or as an alternative, a motion to postpone this nomination to a future date so that the council might have time to consider its options. Again, the primary point is that the nomination remains on the table. Thank you.
So, colleagues, our Constitution, the city charter, provides that the mayor nominates and appoints certain charter officers with council's consent, but the city charter does not dictate our process for granting consent. I believe that the consent of this body is a critical component of the checks and balances built into our system of shared power with the mayor. And I believe we have a responsibility to exercise oversight in a manner that is fair, transparent, and oriented towards achieving a clear outcome. Therefore, I'd like to propose that we step back and define our process for considering mayoral appointments. Specifically, I think we should identify any concerns, opportunities, and other points of shared interest for each of the charter department head nominations. We should frame those issues in the form of questions that can be submitted in advance to each nominee so that they have a chance to prepare and to respond to those issues as part of our public hearing process. This approach ensures a clear, structured, and consistent approach for handling these nominations. It provides the nominees with a fair process, similar to how the city would approach interviewing prospective candidates for employment in a formal job interview. I've consulted with the city clerk on my proposal, and what I'd like to do with the body's support is to bring forward a formal proposal that builds on that basic concept in the next cycle for the council's consideration. Before I make any motions, I do see some folks in queue, so I will first recognize Councilmember Stevenson.
Thank you. This body did not confirm the appointment of Todrick Barnett for substantive reasons, for job performance issues. So I move that we delete this item from the agenda so there's more time for the mayor to speak with the council about those job performance issues and about getting an appointment that can fulfill the needs of this very important job.
Councilmember Stevenson has moved to delete this item from the agenda. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Clerk?
Mr. President, a motion to delete from the agenda would be inappropriate. The mayor has done his job under the charter, which is submitting a nomination to this body. Deleting from the agenda removes it from the agenda. It removes it, period. A motion to postpone to a certain date to take it off of the agenda every cycle would certainly be in order. But a motion to delete is inappropriate because the council has not made a dispositive motion on the mayor's nomination. The council's job is to make a dispositive motion on that nomination.
Councilmember Chugtai.
Thank you, Mr. President. I will make a motion to deny this item at this time and ask for a second. I believe that no means no, and the council has said no, and we stand by the choices that we make around here. And it is time for the mayor to come to us and figure out a different path forward with a different nominee that the council has not said no to. Thank you.
Councilmember Chugtai has made a motion to deny this nominee. It's been seconded. Is there any discussion? Councilmember Palmisano?
I would be in queue for what's next after this.
Okay.
Thank you.
Councilmember Chowdhury.
I just have a quick question. So I've tried to understand why we wouldn't be able to delete it from the agenda. Wouldn't that just create a process in which the mayor would submit the nomination again?
Mr. Clerk?
A motion to delete from the agenda is something that's within the council control and ends, it terminates the item. The mayor has submitted his nomination, which the charter requires. You're required to take some dispositive action on that, either to approve it or to deny it. Deleting it from the agenda is not the equivalent of denial. The proper motion, which is before you now, is to either reject or, in the alternative, to approve it.
Great. I think it's helpful just for the public's clarity for us to have that conversation. Another question that I have is what conditions must happen in order for the mayor to submit another nomination?
Mr. Clerk?
Mr. President, this nomination continues to sit in front of the council until it disposes of it. So either the council needs to achieve the vote to deny that confirmation, to not give consent, as the words of the charter, to consent to or not consent, or to consent to the appointment. So those are the two options. Or the mayor could withdraw his nomination. Mr. Barnett could withdraw from consideration. Those are essentially the four major options in order to dispose of that item in a definitive way.
And then it's also my understanding, if the council continues its denial of the appointment of Commissioner Barnett and it's not vetoed, the mayor would the mayor be able to bring the commissioner back as a appointment, a second appointment? Would he be able to bring Commissioner Barnett back for the total of 3 times, or is it a unique set of 3 individuals?
Mr. Chair, to Councilmember Chowdhury's question, the mayor has the option under the charter to submit up to 3 nominations. Those are 3 distinct individuals. It's not the same person 3 times. It's 3 separate nominations. So this is 1 nomination by the mayor, which is a reappointment proposed for Mr. Barnett to the position of Community Safety Commissioner. Until this 1 nomination is disposed of in a final manner, it remains pending, and then a second nomination could be made.
Thank you for the clarification. One more final clarification question. When does the term for the commissioner end, in which then the mayor will have to select an interim officer?
I can call on the clerk, but I also see that the city attorney is in queue.
Council President, council members, so the holdover period ends August 3rd. So to answer your most recent question, and I just want to, I guess, reiterate and clarify that whatever action this council takes still does go to the mayor. If it's a denial, the mayor could again veto, and back and forth like that. But just for clarification.
Excellent. I really appreciate the clarity. I see that I was hoping my time would still remain. I'm not done with my comments. So I will just say that I will be supporting this motion to deny. I do think that it is important that the mayor have a conversation with the council about how we are going to work together as it comes to the future of the Office of Community Safety. Since our vote to deny, there hasn't been what I believe to be a substantive conversation around a path forward on how we will work together. And that is why I support denying. I do not want to see a never-ending loop of vetoes, but that is a choice that has a potential to be made by the mayor. And I think it also showcases an opportunity for us to have discussions about the future of OCS and this appointment. And I will also reiterate what my colleague, Councilmember Stevenson, said. For me, there were very, very substantive reasons as to why I did not support the nominee. For me, it was not what was the quote, political gamesmanship. It was about specific contracts that had come before us that shouldn't have come before us, budgeting issues, work with this body, the way in which there have been certain needs and asks that have been asked by the Public Safety Committee for the last couple of years that haven't been fulfilled. And those are my comments, and I will be taking that denial vote today.
Councilmember Schaefer.
Yes. Per Councilmember Chowdhury's comments, I do believe that it's great for our council to continue to have discussions with the mayor about what is happening on this item. And for that reason, I believe I would like to make a substitute motion to postpone this until June 11th for the exact purposes of starting this discussion. For us to send a motion of deny at this point in time, I believe is too strong of a signal to send at this point in time to the mayor that we want to discuss. I believe a better option would be to postpone. So can I have a second to postpone this item until June 11th? Thank you.
We have to dispense with the underlying motion first. So we can return to that depending on the outcome of this motion. Councilmember Palmisano.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I will then speak against this motion. This motion feels at best unproductive to the points that Councilmember Schaefer made. But Mr. President, you had an idea about how to move forward, and we had an opportunity to briefly discuss it earlier this week. I do agree with this idea, and I look forward to seeing it further built out. I do think that's the right way for us as a body to move forward with all appointments, and maybe something that we should have done first. So I do look forward to seeing more about that. And in order to do that, I will speak against this motion, because I think that if this were to fail, then I don't think the converse becomes true, does it? I think we can then have a motion to postpone, and maybe it's June 11th or maybe it's June 25th, but I would be open to editing on that date based on what you have in your on your mind, Mr. President. But I would ask us to take that path instead. This other one feels at best unproductive.
Councilmember Chugtai.
Thank you, Mr. President. I really appreciate the comments I've heard from some of my colleagues so far, and I'm trying to wrap my head around this conversation of what is productive and unproductive as it relates to this consideration of the mayor's nomination. It is an unprecedented and historic thing that this body made a affirmative decision to deny an appointment. That doesn't come around every day, and what feels unproductive to me is that following the denial by the council, the immediate response from the mayor was his commitment to vetoing this action. I feel that is what's unproductive, to disregard the council rejecting an appointee in a manner that is historic, that has not happened before. I think that really speaks to the gravity of failures within this nomination, and I think that the council reiterating its previous position of saying no is the best path forward right now. I am really excited to engage in conversations. My line's open, and I'm willing to work with anyone and hopefully everyone here to find a path forward. But I think the council's power to give consent is undermined when the council says no, and what is heard in a no is a yes. That's not what's happening here, and so I think it's. I would ask that we maintain our position of no on this appointee.
Councilmember Chavez.
Thank you, President Payne. I'll be supporting the motion to deny. I guess I'm just kind of confused about what we're doing here. We took a vote on this appointment already. We voted to deny this appointment 7-6. It's still on our agenda. We gave the mayor a clear decision that there is not 7 votes to approve this nomination. And we're here again. So the public is probably confused about what's happening here. I want to be clear that a no is a no. I'm not sure what the point of continuing to not have the mayor create a work group or not have the mayor begin the process of finding a new commissioner. I'm not sure why we're delaying public safety in that way. It's kind of frustrating for many of our community members that are dealing with gun violence, public safety issues, of not having leadership willing to say, it's time to find a new commissioner. It's time to work with this body and find a new commissioner that's going to work with all of us to address the issues facing our communities. And I'm kind of frustrated that when we say no, I'm confused. A no is a no. Let's move on. Let's deal with safety issues. Let's work on public safety. Let's work on community safety issues that our neighbors are dealing with. Folks on Lake Street are struggling with community safety issues, and instead we're gonna continue to just not work with the council in finding a new commissioner. It's kind of disappointing. I think it's time to work with the city council, all 13 of us, to find a new commissioner and to show some leadership in how we are going to move forward. Because not taking any action is only gonna delay the impact of our neighborhood. So thank you.
Vice President Osman.
Thank you. This is the second denial we're taking. Like Councilmember Chavez said, we do want to move on. And as a council leadership, we have said publicly and privately that we want to speak to the mayor to move on and make a decision so our city is protected and has a commissioner of public safety. The mayor has not reached out to us yet. He has not moved in that conversation. So we're just going to be busy with this conversation and be in this loop. I think residents deserve better leadership on the mayor's side. And I expect that next cycle, we will move on about this conversation. This is the second denial we'll continue to do. Council leadership and council members that I spoke to are ready to have a conversation with administration and make a decision instead of just this loop. So my message to the mayor is reach out to us. My phone is open and my communication, my office is open, and we're here to have a conversation for the better of our city. Thank you, Council President.
Seeing no one else left in queue, I will ask the clerk to call the roll on the motion to deny the mayor's nominee for the Commissioner of Community Safety.
Mr. President, can you remind me what an aye and a no vote means in this?
Mr. Clerk, I can go for it. An aye vote would be to deny the nomination. Mr. Clerk?
Councilmember Stevenson.
Aye.
Councilmember Rainville.
No.
Councilmember Vitaw.
No.
Councilmember Palmisano.
No.
Councilmember Chavez.
Aye.
Councilmember Warren.
No.
Councilmember Schaefer.
No.
Councilmember Wansley.
Aye.
Councilmember Shugtai.
Aye.
Councilmember Whiting.
No.
Councilmember Chowdhury.
Aye.
Vice President Osman.
Aye.
President Payne.
Aye.
There are 7 ayes and 6 nays.
That motion carries, and the appointment is denied. That'll be sent forward to the mayor for consideration. I'll also note that Mayor Fry submitted his nomination for police chief of Brian O'Hara. We will also want to handle that as well today. I do intend to have the chief go through a more formal process that I'm currently developing that, again, should be a process that will work no matter who the nominee is for chief or any other charter department. And I will move to refer that nomination to the Public Health, Safety, and Equity Committee. Can I get a second to that?
Mr. President?
Mr. Clerk.
You don't need a motion to make a referral. The council rules empower you to make referrals on behalf of the body.
Well, then I
You
will
can
just
certainly
make
make
that
a motion
referral.
if you wish, but it is your authority.
I will make that referral without objection. And I think, seeing as we don't need to call the roll on that, that disposes of that item. Our next order of business is new business. We have 4 items today, including the gift acceptance we added at the beginning. Item number 1 is an amendment to our appointments to various boards, commissions, and committees. Today I'm bringing an amendment to update the Transportation Advisory Board appointment removing Councilmember Stevenson, upgrading Councilmember Wansley to be primary appointee, and adding Councilmember Chugtai as the alternate. I'll move approval of this item and ask for a second.
Mr. President, that was not the intention of what I reached out to you about.
Can you re-describe it?
Well, the issue is that there's a repeated conflict with the Public Safety Committee and the TAB Committee, and both I and Councilmember Wansley are on the Public Safety Committee, and we are both I am the person on the board, and then Councilmember Wansley is the alternate. I spoke with Councilmember Wansley, and she was open to having Councilmember Chugtai replace her as the alternate.
Yes.
I would remain on the board.
Gotcha.
And Councilmember Chugtai would become the new alternate for when I have to be at the Public Safety.
Okay, so we just have it reversed here.
Yes.
Correct. Okay, so I will make the motion to remove Councilmember Wansley and make Councilmember Chugtai the alternate, and Councilmember Stevenson would remain the primary. Is there a second to that motion? Seeing no one in queue, I will ask the clerk to call the roll.
Councilmember Stevenson.
Aye.
Councilmember Rainville.
Aye.
Councilmember Vita.
Aye.
Councilmember Palmisano.
Aye.
Councilmember Chavez.
Aye.
Councilmember Warren.
Aye.
Councilmember Schaefer.
Aye.
Councilmember Wansley.
Aye.
Councilmember Chugtai.
Aye.
Councilmember Whiting.
Aye.
Councilmember Chowdhury.
Aye.
Vice President Osman.
Aye.
President Payne.
Aye.
There are 13 ayes.
That carries and the item is adopted. The next order of business is earlier this week, Mayor Fry presented his State of the City address, and we will officially receive his remarks today for inclusion in the public record. Are there any comments from my colleagues? Seeing none, I will direct the clerk to file that address. Item number 3 is the receipt of the mayor's nomination of William Walker to the appointed position of Civil Service Commissioner. I move to refer this nomination to the Enterprise and Labor Relations Committee for the setting of a public hearing and ask for a second.
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 Any discussion? Seeing none, I'll ask the clerk to call the roll.
Councilmember Stevenson.
Aye.
Councilmember Rainville.
Aye.
Councilmember Vita.
Aye.
Councilmember Palmisano.
Aye.
Councilmember Chavez.
Aye.
Councilmember Warren.
Aye.
Councilmember Schaefer.
Aye.
Councilmember Wansley.
Aye.
Councilmember Chugtai.
Aye.
Councilmember Whiting.
Aye.
Councilmember Chowdhury.
Aye.
Vice President Osman.
Aye.
President Payne.
Aye.
There are 13 ayes.
That carries, and the item is referred to the Enterprise and Labor Relations Committee. Finally, item number 4 is the gift acceptance of travel and lodging from Local Progress for Councilmember Chowdhury. Is there a motion to approve this item?
So moved.
Second.
The clerk will call the roll.
To hit.
Councilmember Stevenson.
Aye.
Councilmember Rainville.
Aye.
Councilmember Vita.
Aye.
Councilmember Palmisano.
Aye.
Councilmember Chavez.
Aye.
Councilmember Warren.
Aye.
Councilmember Schaefer.
Aye.
Councilmember Wansley.
Aye.
Councilmember Chugtai.
Aye.
Councilmember Whiting.
Aye.
Councilmember Chowdhury.
Aye.
Vice President Osman.
Aye.
President Payne.
Aye.
There are 13 ayes.
That item is adopted. Finally, we have the order of announcements. Are there any announcements from council members? Councilmember Rainville.
Thank you. I want to wish all the mothers in Minneapolis and on the council dais here in the City Enterprise a happy Mother's Day.
Councilmember Whiting.
Thank you, President Payne. As you will see, colleagues, there was a resolution that was not presented today. This week honors Teacher Appreciation Week. And so I know all of you are products of fantastic teachers. And so I know I will be going to the schools in my district to present this resolution and urge some of you to do the same. And so I'm happy to get out some of those copies to all of you. But it's a good week to be a teacher. Thank you.
Councilmember Chavez.
Thank you, President Payne. Just want to remind folks about the Cinco de Mayo festival this weekend. It's on Sunday from Lake Street and Portland Avenue South to Lake Street and 2nd Avenue South. So May 10th from 11 a.m. to 8 p.m.
Councilmember Warren.
Thank you, Council President. I would like one of those teacher appreciation resolutions to submit to the schools in my ward too. That's all I really wanted to say, and just reminding individuals to get out and celebrate communities, celebrate your loved ones, your mothers, your community elders, whomever it is, and really celebrate and uplift them this weekend. And just let's put some love out in the air in this cold weather, because I don't know what's going on, but I think if we love on a bunch of folks this weekend, it'll warm up outside, okay? So let's try to do that. Put something good to eat on the grill. Just be good to yourselves and other people.
Mr. Carl.
Mr. President, with the council's indulgence, I sent an email earlier, but the first full week of May every year is designated as Public Service Recognition Week. We didn't have a resolution this year, but that week is intended to recognize the contributions of government workers and employees at all levels, from federal to local, but especially here at the local level, where our results can be seen and felt by your constituents every day. The city of Minneapolis, I think, is blessed to have 4,000 full-time employees. They're the professionals who deliver city services, who manage our municipal programs, and who make the city work. Those 4,000 professionals work in 27 different departments. They cover everything from public safety, public health, public infrastructure, economic development, parks and recreation, licensing and permitting, zoning and land use, civil rights, neighborhood community relations, and a lot more. From entry-level stock clerks all the way up to our city's chief operations officer and everything in between. We are blessed with an incredible workforce who are truly committed to the success of the city, and I think the vast majority of them who work behind the scenes without recognition and without fanfare make a big impact on the city. So for this year's Public Service Recognition Week, although we failed to bring the resolution forward, and I apologize for not being proactive in that, obviously a big thanks and appreciation to all of our employees for all they have done and continue to do every day.
Thank you for that. I added myself to queue because, of course, Art World is coming up May 15th through the 17th, one of the biggest arts festivals in the nation and one of the best arts district in the nation, if not the best arts district in the nation. And just for other awareness in the spirit of Art World, our goal is to keep Quincy weird, and it is, we have some proposals for reconstruction, and I am in deep conversation with my community, with the Public Works Department, with the City Attorney's Office, with the CPED Planning and Zoning team around how we can achieve that shared goal of keeping Quincy weird. So stay tuned as that project unfolds. I'll recognize Councilmember Chowdhury.
Thank you so much, President Payne. I just wanted to take a second to recognize that there was a ceremonial groundbreak of the development of the Rise Up Center in the former YWCA building in Uptown Minneapolis. This is a center that is going to have workforce development space for union jobs, a site for entrepreneur incubation, and a co-working space for local and state power building organizations. And I want to give Councilmember Chavez his flowers for his work on the budget amendment and believing in this project from the beginning. Because of his leadership, the city of Minneapolis was able to contribute to this project becoming a reality and seeing through its groundbreaking, and it's going to be a very important place for the work of our communities in building worker power and growing our workforce and ensuring there's good union paying jobs. And I just really wanted to give you your credit where it was due, because sometimes we don't get the credit, and I wanted to make sure you got it today.
Councilmember Schaefer.
I'm going to read this. This is still in process. My colleagues and I have written this, and this is a rough draft, and we will be forwarding this to all of you and including in the record. This is a council member's letter in support of the reappointment of the Honorable Todrick Barnett as a Commissioner of the Office of Community Safety. This letter is a response to the recently published public memorandum, City Council's Vision for Community Safety, and Todrick Barnett's failure to meet that vision. entered into the record by the council president on April 15th. It purports to speak for the whole
Councilmember
body.
Schaefer, I don't know if this is germane to the announcement section.
Clerk Carl.
Mr. President, are you asking me that question, or are you
Sure,
stating that?
this seems a little out of order.
Yeah, I agree. The announcements portion under the council rules say that this is for general announcements of community-wide interest.
Okay.
A letter, as Councilmember Schaefer began to read, describes an item on the agenda that we've dispensed with. And so certainly there are other formats for that to be brought forward, but announcements would be an inappropriate use of that order on the agenda.
Thank you, President Payne and Clerk Carl.
Seeing no one else left in queue, we've completed our business today with nothing further to come before the council, and without objection, this meeting is hereby adjourned. Thank you, everyone.